Hey guys, the Esports Money's ESM Mac 10, whatever you want to call me, and today we're going to be going over a game that I played of Weaver in the Offlane. If you've been keeping up with me, I've been playing a lot of Weaver lately. Generally speaking, I've been forced to go to the safe lane when I played Weaver, but I don't think the hero's best that. In fact, I think the hero's... I've been forced to go in the offlane. Generally speaking, I think that the hero's just fine. That's really loud. I think the hero's just fine as a safe lane carry, and that's how I like to play him when I play with my organized team. But that being said, he's also great in the offlane. This is obviously an offlane game, if I haven't said just a second ago. Weaver's pretty good at blocking. He starts with a base movement speed of 290. Now, for those of you that are relatively new to the hero, you always get level 1 Sakuchi just because it's a sick escape mechanism. It does 90 damage, so a little bit of damage, and most of all, it gives you max movement speed and you're invisible. Yeah, max movement speed too. I am laning against the defensive tri-lane of an Earthshaker, a Shadow Shaman, and a Medusa. Now, in the offlane, and again, this is just in the offlane, you're not as concerned with getting last hits as much as you are concerned with just not dying. Now, this game is around a 3.8k MMR game. It's a relatively low, well, I would say medium MMR game, leaning towards the lower side. And we've got a Shadow Shaman, an Earthshaker, and a Medusa here, and no one has sentries. Now, if I were to, they should have sentries for two reasons. One, I should have dropped a sentry right here to ward them, or an observer right there to ward them, but no one gave me a ward. Second of all, they're playing against a Weaver. I'm an invisible hero. I'm the hero that relies on invisibility to escape from everyone, so that was kind of a misstep on their part. Earthshaker there, just a second thinking about trying to fissure me, changes his mind. The big thing that I want to emphasize that's different about the way I play this hero compared to the way most people play Weaver is that, let's go to player perspective. No. The way that I play Weaver that's different from a lot of the ways people play Weaver is that you can see my starting items here. I could have got boots if I saved my money, but I'm not going to rush boots. I start with a set of tangos and a salve. Generally speaking, that'll be enough regen for you. You want to get the Ring of Protection, and then the Circlet, because it gives you +3 stats, which is nice, or +2 all stats, and you can't actually pick that up from the side shop, and you're going to need it later on because you're going to get a Ring of Aquila. You get the Ring of Protection so that if you're able to get to the side shop, you can immediately get the Ring of Basilius, which you're going to, again, turn into a Wraithband. Generally speaking, I rush a Wraithband as fast as I can after I get my starting tangos and a salve. The Wraithband is nice because it just gives you a bit of damage and just a huge chunk of stats, which Weaver's a hero that's sort of desperately hungry for stats, and you can see here that I was a little bit nervous and bought my Sage's Mask at the base rather than the side shop because I can't actually access the side shop this game because there is a defensive tri-lane and they are keeping the wave pushed and no one's pulling. You can see now, based on the minimap right here, that the Shadow Shaman is considering leaving the lane. He will leave my lane to go roam and gank other lanes because they just can't kill me. If the enemy team doesn't buy sentries, which at medium, low MMR, and even in some games in the high MMR, the enemy team will be lazy and won't buy sentries, you can really exploit that in the early game and you can just always get the experience you need and even steal some last hits. Speaking of last hitting, Weaver is a hero that can be really difficult to last hit because Weaver's attack animation sucks. Weaver's attack animation is one of the most obnoxiously long and obnoxiously weird ranged attack animations in the game. That being said, Weaver's base damage and starting stats, I mean, I'm doing 64 damage at level 4 and I have the double attack already. So Weaver doesn't have the best attack animation, but Weaver does have good damage, which makes it so last hitting isn't as hard as Weaver as it might appear. It just takes a little bit of practice. It's not that hard. By hard, I mean it's not as easy to deny creeps from you as it might seem because you're a ranged hero with a long attack animation, just because your damage is so high and you can throw that attack animation earlier. Also, once you have the double attack, you can rely on the second attack to get the last hit if you time it properly, which is nice because it makes it way more difficult for them to deny you. And now we're getting friendly banter in the chat. I can't mute it. I'll just turn this over here. Hopefully that won't cause any more pop-ups. So, speaking of which, I've got I guess it's called a guild. Is it a guild? It's a yeah, it's a guild called ESM, Esports Monies. You can leave a comment here, or message me on Steam, or add me on or message me on Twitter, or add me on Steam if you'd like to join the group. Relatively small. Anyway, moving right along. Skill build. Now, the skill build is something that varies a little bit. You always want to max, or pretty much always want to max Sakuchi by a 7-minute or a level 7, just because if you're in the offlane, the cooldown reduction is really big, and since you get the Ring of Aquila first, you don't have brown boots for a little bit longer than a lot of carries, so you kind of want to get that skill. Like, the reason that you don't need to get brown boots as soon as a lot of heroes is because you can get the Sakuchi. Now, the big debate that you're going to run into, and it might seem obvious that you're going to want to get Germinated Attack maxed after you get level 7. And by the way, always get a second, or at least 1 point in your bugs, what's that thing called? The Swarm. You want to get at least 1 point at level 4 pretty much every game, because it's really, really good at level 1. And it's honestly debatable whether or not you want to level that throughout the entire course of the game. Now, I'm not going to go through the entire replay of this, because I wouldn't say I fall off later on, but like we did lose the game. It was pretty rough. You could see the supports left the lane because they weren't able to do anything to me, and they just started ganking our bottom lane pretty hard. But now that the supports are gone, I can just sort of harass with immunity and just like not really worry about anything, because Medusa can't do anything to me until she has her ult, and even then it's kind of hard for her to lock me down. You can kind of spam the ult on this hero, just because the cooldown's relatively low, especially once you level 11 it only costs 75 mana, and then when you're level 16 it doesn't cost any mana, so you can just spam it all day. Like, the cooldown is 60 seconds, it's not really long at all, and at level 16, 40 seconds with no mana cost, the skill's just awesome. It's good, like, whenever you see yourself drop, like, half of your health within, like, a 3-second period, that's when you start spamming the ult. Or whenever you see you get stunned when the whole enemy team's nearby, you just start bashing your R button. Anyway, back to the debate between the Swarm and Germinated Attack. Germinated Attack's really good if you're just sort of AFK farming, but if you think you can push early and you're definitely fighting early, the Swarm's better because the damage is really good and the duration increase is really nice. One thing that a lot of Weavers don't do is that, let's say for instance I'm pushing this tower, my creeps are attacking it, I turn my ring off now so I don't push the lane, but if they're pushing the lane I'll turn the ring on. I see creeps coming from over here, or I know creeps are about to be right here because it's about, let's say, 17 seconds past the minute mark. I'll throw out my Germinated Attack, and then the creeps will be forced to kill those bugs before they progress, and it'll give me lots of time for my creeps to attack this tower with me attacking the tower. Item build, and this is where I start to deviate from the norm. Everyone on the face of the earth, at least a year ago, thought that the best possible way to play Weaver is to always rush either Radiance or Lincolns. Now, going back to my perspective, Radiance is a cool item if you're in the safe lane and you have awesome farm. If you can get a sub 15 minute Radiance, or let's say sub 16, even sub 17 minute Radiance, it's probably worth it to get a Radiance unless your team's just getting wrecked all over the map and you've been AFK farming, in which case you gotta get something bigger so that you can fight earlier. But generally speaking, a Radiance is a good item if you are the safe lane farmer. If you're the one position, you need to just be getting money constantly, because Radiance synergizes really, really well with the AoE damage you get from Sakuchi. Like, there's an instant 150 damage plus the, what's it, like 55 damage per second or something from Radiance? It's huge. It's pretty huge. Anyway, you can see me just harassing down the Medusa here. She can't really do anything about it. I mean, she's really, really low. So, anyway, the thing that I do instead of the Radiance 90% of the time, especially if you're offlane, like if you're offlane, you're not going to have the same like farming resources that a safe laner will. So you're going to want to be involved early, and you're going to want to fight earlier, because your safe laner is probably going to be the one that's AFK farming all game, and you want to be able to come to the fights and help defend when you're being pushed in. And if you get a Desolator super fast, then a Desolator is such a strong early game item on this hero. It's actually kind of crazy. Bye-bye. So, if you rush the Desolator on this hero, the minus armor is really, really strong, because you can get a Deso on this hero by, like, usually you can get a Deso sub 15 minutes, because I don't actually upgrade my treads until after I have my first item, or upgrade my brown boots into treads till after I have my first item. So I'll usually go I'll get Ring of Aquila, brown boots, and then I'll start building my Desolator. However, and this is the big caveat, and this is absolutely genius, nobody really does this or really thinks about this, if you're against a hero in your lane that you're pretty good against anyway. Like, I'm talking a relatively squishy melee hero. Like, what's a good example? I mean, Shadow Shaman maybe, actually, just looking at the top bar. But a good one that comes to mind is Faceless Void, or even Anti-Mage, if... I don't know, I guess Anti-Mage can always blink away. But as long as you have a relatively squishy melee hero in the lane with you, which means you can kind of harass him without him doing much about it, get a Medallion. A Medallion of Courage is so strong because the armor amplifies for both of your attacks with the Germinate attack. Oh, I think I'm about to get wrecked here. I think I remember this part. Ooh, it's gonna be nasty. Yeah, I'm toast. I'm boned. Oh! No, it might be okay. I don't remember. Anyway, so... The Germinate attack combined with the Medallion is really, really strong. Yeah, I'm boned. I overextended. So, anyway... Getting the... Oh yeah, he's going to hit me with one of those shocks, I think. He's going to grab me with the shock, I'm pretty sure. I don't know, maybe I did get out. Cool, I got out. So anyway, you get the Medallion of Courage because you can just use... Like, it reduces your armor and it also reduces the enemy unit's armor, which makes you more vulnerable while you're doing more physical DPS. But especially if it's like... It's kind of okay against Shadow Shaman too, if the Shadow Shaman's alone, because the Shadow Shaman's DPS and the Shadow Shaman's lockdown, all of that damage is magical, not physical, except for his ultimate when he summons the wards, does actually do physical damage. What? Which is why they're able to attack towers. But against heroes that don't do any physical damage, or against heroes like Faceless Void, or other like relatively squishy melee heroes, you can just rush the Medallion. You can grab a Medallion before... like, you can have... Like, I have enough money here to have had Medallion probably about a minute ago, so that's like 8 or 9 minute Medallion, which means... I believe that's -6. I believe that's -6 armor. Like, how do I get rid of this? Where is the ye old Medallion? The Medallion. -6 armor. +6 armor on you. And, again, it gives you +6 armor, so, like, your armor actually breaks even when you use it on them. But if you're not using it, it makes you tankier. But either way, it's really big on heroes that can't really, like, fight back against you. So that's mostly melee heroes, or any hero that relies on magic damage rather than physical. It's great to rush the Medallion. I didn't rush the Medallion against the Medusa because Medusa is a ranged hero that's based on physical DPS, which is sort of like the definition of something that the Medallion is not as strong against. One of the things Medallion like really gives you that it doesn't necessarily... like one of the things that Medallion gives you against heroes that aren't physical DPS or that can't hit you, miss the swarm, or that can't hit you while you're hitting them, is that bonus armor. But if they're able to hit you and you use the Medallion, then you can't like one-on-one man fight them. The thing that's really cool about Medallion is that was the worst Roche Bash ever, but there's a good Sunstrike. If you go Medallion and you use it on them, like Faceless Void sees a Weaver, for instance. Faceless Void doesn't have ult, Weaver doesn't have ult, they just man fight. Faceless Void is probably thinking, if there's no Sakuchi here, which is, I believe it's true, if there's no Sakuchi and the Faceless Void and the Weaver are both like level 7, level 8, the Faceless Void should just wreck the Weaver, like the Faceless Void should just beat the Weaver into the ground. But with the Medallion, the Faceless Void like can't fight you because you can maneuver around him. Not only can you kite him like you can usually, but you're doing so much more damage. The big thing, like, with Medusa is that if I use the Medallion on her, then we're both kind of in the same boat because I've reduced the armor on both of us. However, it is a good overall item to pick. Even if you're not sure and you think Medallion might be good, you can pick it up anyway because it does give you a base armor bonus that's equivalent to what it will reduce from yourself and the enemy. And you can see Sakuchi's great for dodging things. Like, I just dodged that Mystic Snake. I think I dodged her Mystic Snake probably 10 times this game. It's really, really good. Like, the thing about Weaver is that everyone thinks that Lincoln's is good because it lets you dodge shit, and Lincoln's is good because the whole point of Weaver is being this sneaky bug thing that sort of evades attacks and just won't die. We're just getting destroyed in the bot lane. So, the cool thing about the Lincolns is obviously you get a lot of stats, you're more slippery. Lincoln's is a great item on this hero, and if I get Desolator or I get Radiance, regardless of which one I get first, I always get Lincoln second. But, unless I get a BKB. But the thing is, if you get Lincoln's first, then you're totally gimped for damage later on. And if you get Lincoln's first, you'll be getting Desolator so late that everyone will have so much armor to begin with that it won't make a lot of sense unless you're just playing Rat Dota, which is You can play Rat DotA with Weaver, but it's not really strong. It's not like nearly as strong as, I don't know, probably a dozen, even maybe 20 other heroes. So that's how I play Weaver. I get the boots. I rush Ring of Aquila, then I get Brown boots, then I get Desolator. I max Sakuchi by level 7, and then generally speaking, when in doubt, level Germinate attack first. Max it first. But always get a point in the Swarm at level 4 because it will help you push lanes, and it will help you get vision. And really quickly, I want to point out, if I use Sakuchi here, and there's like Earthshaker right here, and like if I'm standing right here, Earthshaker's at the tower, and I use not Sakuchi. If I use the Swarm on him, and then Sakuchi in and start hitting him, the tower will focus down the Swarm creeped. It takes 8 attacks to destroy. That's a combination of attacks from Earthshaker and the tower, which means that I can just Sakuchi in and do all the damage I want to do, right-clicking him, while the tower continues to focus the Swarm bug, which is really, really cool. A lot of players don't realize it, and it really gives Weaver a load of offensive potential in the early game. The thing that makes Weaver really cool, like the way I play him compared to the way I feel like a lot of people play him, is you want to build the hero so that he can be offensive early in the game. Yes, the way I build him, you will get to a point where Weaver's this 6-slotted monstrosity that nobody can ever kill. But if you go Lincoln's first, you're kind of irrelevant for the first 25 minutes of the game until you pick up that first real damage item. The way I play him, you can push towers, you can team fight, you can do all of the things that you need to help your team earlier on in the game, and even farm more efficiently, unless you're going for the Radiance, in which case that's best farming item you can get on the hero. But it just gives you a lot more options in the early game that you wouldn't technically have. I don't know if I'm going to call this a guide or just a replay analysis. I guess you'd see by the title of this YouTube video. This will be a replay analysis. I will come out and talk more about making a guide to Weaver in the offlane in the future. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.